Hey, it's Nathaniel. Welcome back to another video. I've been working on a quite complex project. It's a stainless steel handrail. I have 5 stainless steel handrails I'm building for a very high-end pool. Now, this customer is a very interesting guy. What he told the contractor who's doing the pool job is, I want excellence and I will pay for it. So I don't get these kind of customers every day, but it is a blessing when I do get these kinds of customers. So here's the job. I've made some drawings of it for you to take a look at. A lot of detail work here, and 3 of these railings are going underwater. So it has to be 316 grade stainless steel, which is not cheap. This project is well underway. I have got the material bent. I outsourced that because I don't have a bender myself. And so what I'll have to do is weld some elbows onto this and make a couple of miter cuts for extra support, as you can see in the photos. But this is completely a new kind of project to me because I'm not a stainless expert. I've worked with stainless maybe once in my life, but I'm gonna do some practice runs. I'm hoping I can do this project to the best of my ability and that the customer would be satisfied. I'm used to only welding mild steel, and for mild steel I use 100% CO2, but when you're welding stainless steel, you actually want to use 97% argon and 3% carbon dioxide. I was really thankful to get some tips on MIG welding stainless steel before I started this project, because there's a lot of things I just wouldn't have known had I not asked people some questions. But what I'm doing here is swapping out my liner. You want to make sure you get a fresh liner and put on a new welding wire cleaner like I'm doing here. Essentially, the goal is to not have any cross-contamination between mild steel and stainless steel. Because if you have mild steel getting mixed in with the stainless steel, it could get embedded in the metal and then you get rust spots. So make sure you start out fresh with all your consumables, and then same thing with your flap discs and sanding pads as well. This is what I'm using to polish my stainless. They call this a blending disc. It can be used for mild steel, stainless, or aluminum. This was my first time using this type of sanding pad, but I found that it worked really well. Because basically what it is just a Scotch-Brite pad that you can put on your grinder. And then I started cutting this cross member for this first above water railing. This angle was a pretty challenging angle. I basically just had to set the piece up there and mark it out with a Sharpie and get it as close as possible. As I had mentioned, this was one of my first times working with stainless steel, and to my surprise, when I started welding this, it actually welded almost exactly the same to mild steel. Although I did wear a respirator to weld this because the fumes from stainless are kind of nasty and you really don't want to breathe that stuff in. I put a strong back and a couple of clamps right where my welding spot was to try to eliminate how much warpage I get. Each joint I started off by sanding down with a flap disc and then went to the blending disc. That got a fairly uniform surface. Not perfect, but I'm hoping that will be sufficient. Since this customer was fairly particular, I spent a lot of extra time to make sure these welds were almost seamless. Normally on handrails, I don't spend that much time to grind down the welds and polish them because usually they get sent off and sandblasted and powder coated. But in this case, however I leave the finished surface, that's the way it's gonna be. So it's gotta look pretty nice. On this second railing that was going above water, I went ahead and cut an extra piece of tubing and hammered it in here to try to keep this joint from warping as much as possible. Because I noticed on the first one, it got a little more warpage than I would like. I try to do the best I can, but sometimes it's really hard to keep metal from warping because that's a basic concept. If you heat metal, it'll warp. After I finished out with the two above water railings, I started with the underwater railing. But when I tried to fit these escutcheons onto the pipe, I found that those holes were a little too tight. So I took my air tool and widened them out a bit. For these railings, the concept was simple. Weld the elbows on, grind them down, put the escutcheons on, then put the mounting plates on. Got them all done, all packaged up and ready to go to the job site. I'll go drop these off, and thankfully I don't have to do the install on these, but the contractor I'm working with is going to install them, and once he gets them installed, I'll show you some footage of that.
After about a month, the contractor got these two upper railings installed, but once they did, I found out this pool cover was going to be in the way of these two railings. So what this means is I'm going to have to add about 6 inches to the bottom of these posts. So I took them back to the shop, got my machine swapped back over for stainless steel. I added about 6 inches to each one, tried to make them as straight as possible. Got them all welded and then ground down and finished off with the blending disc. These railings are fairly easy to take out and put back in because instead of being mounted directly into concrete, they've got these little sleeves that the posts just slide into, and then there's only one bolt on each one, and that tightens it down. So I got them reinstalled, and I think they look great. I definitely took a lot of extra time on this one because I knew the customer was really particular, but he was willing to pay for it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you've learned some things from this video. I know I have, and I think it'd be kind of cool to do more work like this in the future. It sounds like this contractor may have some more jobs for me, so that'd be cool. If you enjoyed it, hit that thumbs up button, leave your comments down below. I'd really love to have your guys' feedback, and let me know what kind of videos you'd like to see me post, or if you've got any questions you'd like me to answer. And if you're interested in seeing more of this kind of content, consider subscribing to my channel, because Lord willing, I will keep sending you content just like this video. And until next time, God bless.